And if I can have my iPad, somebody's got it. Okay, right, okay. Now, that plaque on the right there, how many horses are there?
4.
4. Right, so it's 2 lots of 2. Now, does that look like army horses or some other kind of horses? Processional horses. And I think if you read the inscription, does it say royal procession horses? Something like that? Royal procession horses from Armanah period. Now, what was unique about the Armanah period in Egypt? Can you remember anything about it? So, who was Nefertiti? Remember Nefertiti, the most beautiful Egyptian queen? Who was her husband?
Amenhotep III?
Yeah, Amenhotep the Fourth. Yeah. I've got a photo of him with my camera, which I took 4,000 years ago. Okay. Now, he's also called Akhenaten.
Right.
Amenhotep the Fourth. Now, what he did was very, very special from a religious point of view. Do you know what that was?
Worship one God?
One God. Now, Egyptians had 2,000 gods. So how could you, as a new ruler, get away with sacking 2,000 gods? Goodness knows how many priests they had, how many temples they had, how many followers they had. Somehow they were discredited. And their worship was converted, hopefully, to one god who was called the Atum instead of the Amun. They'd worship Amun as one of the main gods, but he had them worship the Atum, which was not the sun disk, but the sunlight, which is depicted on all the inscriptions by lines coming down from a disk with little hands on the end, because he, for some reason, knew that there was one god who had hands, who could do things. Like what? What might he have seen, do you think? Any guesses? What powerful things might he have seen?
Create life?
Plagues, the Red Sea. Isn't it amazing that there must have been some monumental event that completely discredited all the gods of Egypt, right? Now, the Amarna letters, which we have in the British Museum, 80 of them, anyway, there's 380 altogether, but we've got 80 of them in the British Museum. They're from the same period, and those Amarna letters, most of them say, from Canaan, they're written by the Canaanite kings, the little tin pot kings. They were written to Akhenaten from Canaan to Egypt, saying, "Where is your army? You were promised to defend us against all the Hittites and all the other people might come along." But what had happened to the army of Egypt? They went for a drink in the Red Sea, didn't they? Including the Pharaoh as well. Amenhotep III, probably, possibly, we don't know. Circumstantially, that's all we can say, circumstantially, because the dates of Egyptology are complete guesses, it looks like during that period that they were reacting to something monumental that happened, like the Exodus, like the plagues, that made the horses, not army horses anymore, but the only horses they had left were ones that were trained, like these ones here, to pull chariots with a royal procession, to have their manes clipped, like those ones there, nice tidy manes, and their heads, like the ones in London, you know, or in any processional place, you might have the horses all with their heads down fat, all prancing along, just like those ones back in ancient Egypt. So the Amarna letters actually proved that the army was not active. It doesn't say why, but the army didn't come for whatever reason. Now also some of the Amarna letters talk about the tragic loss of the previous pharaoh. Other letters say that Egypt pharaoh had promised 2 thrones of solid gold to one of the kings in Canaan, but when the thrones turned up, they were made of wood with just a little skinny bit of gold on. Well, what had happened to the gold in Egypt?
They gave it to the Israelites.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, incredible, powerful evidence. That, isn't it? And it's spine-chilling, isn't it? Really, it really is. That all these various points of evidence. And one of the Amarna letters says, "Where is the gold which is as dust in the land of my brother?" So these Canaanites knew that gold was plentiful, like dust on the ground in Egypt. So why couldn't you give us some like you promised? Amazing. Right. So those are just some of the points that are proven by the Amarna letters from this period, reflected in this little plaque here as well. Okay. Right. I think that's it then, really. where are we? That's all we picked out of anyway. Oh, and glass. There's, I think as we go back through, I think